Come together. It's your world and mine. Must thank everyone for coming out tonight.
Your world and mine.
It's all about Dr. Ronnie Irwin. St. James South. Come out and vote Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. Make the right and only choice, people. Let's get some Barris. Uncle Barris.
No, I never can understand it. The way the system planned. There's no hope, no chance, no loophole, no escape for a sufferer man. 'Cause every time
Put your X where it matters, man.
and try to save myself from drown. There's an
Get the right representation for St. James South.
designed to keep me.
Here's what I do.
Still I'm putting up a resistance.
I'm gonna
Work it out. You know I.
the X will work it out. Make the right and only choice. Dr. Ronnie Irwin, St. James South.
No, I never can understand it. The way the system planned. There's no hope, no chance, no loophole, no escape for a sufferer man. 'Cause every time I lift my head above water and try to save myself from drown, there's an overnight scheme all worked out, designed to keep me down. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I've gotta work it out. Window, no window. I wanna stay home tonight. I long to spend some time with the family, but staying home won't make it right. Sometimes the pressure make me feel like harder when every sign says no way out. Breaking my back to make an overtime dollar. That just goes from hand to mouth. Still I'm putting up a resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up a resistance. I've got to work it out. Lord, I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out. You know I'm putting up resistance. I'm gonna work it out, Lord. Got to fight it. Got to fight it. No, I never can understand it. The way the system goes. I don't.
Good night once again. West Terrace Gardens, and all the surrounding areas near to this meeting. We are here in support of the candidate for the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Irwin. And we are here because the former Prime Minister called the elections 1.5 years early. And she has said not to vote for opposition. So what she's telling you to do is to vote for the Democratic Labour Party as the government. And I'm going to allow former broadcaster, a member of the St. James South Branch, Sylvester Ford, to address you. Come, Sylvester.
A very good evening to you, Comrade Chairman. A very good evening to the residents of West Terrace and surrounding areas. A very good evening to all those who are following us on the internet. I want to say to you a very pleasant welcome. I just stood at attention at the playing of our national anthem, and the words came back to me, almost gave me goosebumps. And I'm going to start by asking a question. Are these fields and hills beyond recall still our very own? Can we, as proud Barbadians, say that these fields and hills still belong to us? A couple of weeks ago, I asked myself that question, and I could not find it within myself to say yes. Because we, as a people, have been subjected to, it seems to me, a process which suggests that we are far more comfortable with persons from over and away than we are with our own people. And that worries me. It worries me because I have children and I have grandchildren. And I find myself asking the question over and over, what kind of country are we going to be leaving behind for those who are now little ones and who really have had no say, can have no say in what we have done within the last few years and what we are doing today? I want to suggest that we examine very, very carefully where we are, how we got to be where we are, and what do we wish for this country of ours going forward. Do we want to see it slip completely out of our hands? Do we want to be strangers in our own land? These are very serious questions I would wish to suggest. And if we are answering those questions in the negative, if we are saying no to those questions, then I want to indicate to you that now is the time to do something meaningful about it. Now is the time to initiate the change which will begin to put us back on the path which we have been accustomed. When you look at the sacrifices made by those who have gone before us, when you look at the gains which they would have made, when you look at the successes which this country will have had in the past, and you examine where we are today, you have to be sad. You have to ask yourself, how did we come to this sorry pass? And if you do that, and you are serious, and your analysis is critical, then I would suggest to you that you know what the answers are, and that you know what to do. And what you need to do is to change the people who you trusted for the last 3 years with the management of the affairs of this 166 square mile road. You cannot help but recognize a lot of self-centeredness in what has been going on in this country, Barbados, within the last few years. You cannot help but notice how the ordinary citizen has been marginalized, and yet they will come to you and say to you, they want you to vote for them. I am saying to you that you have to reject that completely out of hand. You have to do the right thing and put the management of this country back in the hands of the people who will get it done. And that means the Democratic Labour Party, and in this constituency, it means Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. This will not be the first time that this country of ours has found itself in a serious predicament. And on each occasion, it has been a Democratic Labour Party administration which has been put in charge of the affairs of this country and which has turned it around, going all the way back to Earl Barrow and coming forward. You didn't always like the medicine. Barbadians didn't like the medicine in the days of Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, now Sir Lloyd. But at the end of the day, he was proven right. The policies which he initiated were proven to be policies that worked. And the people in international agencies overseas praised him for doing the right thing. But he was vilified and ultimately victimized, even by his own people. Nonetheless, what he did was proven to be right. And we can come forward to just a few years ago, and it was the same thing again. And what have we done? We have gone back and said to the other side, here guys, things don't look so bad, never mind what they were saying, right? Never mind what they were saying. And they have to answer for all the lies they told, and are still telling. And we put it in their hands. Wednesday of this week is an opportunity for us to take back this country. It is an opportunity for us to say to the other side, you have been tried, you have been tested, you have been found wanting, and therefore we have to put you out to pasture. They're talking about the Democratic Labour Party's manifesto creating a hole. They have already created the hole, and it took them just 3 short years to do it. And whoever takes over after them will have to come and address that matter. I am saying to you, the Democratic Labour Party did it before, and we are prepared to do it again. We have people who are being promised this, that, and the other. Who's paying for it? Who's going to pay for it? You, the taxpayers of this country. Are you going to benefit? If you are not going to benefit, if there's no trickle down, if only certain people at or near the top are going to benefit, then you can't support that. The Right Excellent Earl Walton Barrow said many years ago that Barbados is for all Barbadians. That is the way it ought to be even today, tomorrow, next year, and for however long this world lasts. It can only happen if you have people who are prepared to honor that pledge. And it does not appear to me, and I'm sure that if you were to sit down and analyze very carefully what the other side has done in the last 3.5 years, you will recognize that really and truly, that is not what they are about. Look around the country carefully and ask yourself how much they have really done. And then ask yourself a second question. Have they done the little that they wish to claim? Have they done it well? I want to suggest to you that the answer is no. Almost everything that they have attempted to do, they have had to make 2 or 3 attempts to get it right. They haven't got one single thing right the first time. And don't blame COVID. Don't blame COVID. All that COVID has done for us here in Barbados is what it has done to all the other countries across the world. It has exposed a lot of weaknesses in our system. Yes? And the ones who suffer most because of those exposure are the people who are at the bottom of the totem pole in the society. I want to say again, the time has come around. When you get a government that has been in office for, and I say in office and not in power, because that's one of the things that creates a lot of problems in Barbados. Our politicians seem to think that the moment that they are elected, they are all powerful and they don't have to answer to anybody. We on this side, the side of the Democratic Labour Party, we have made the point and stressed this over and over again, not just in this election, but in times past, that politicians ought to be here to serve. They are the servants of the people. You have entrusted your lives, the lives of your children. You have entrusted the management of the country to the politicians. And they have to come and sit down and give account of their stewardship. Our Constitution provides that that is done on a 5-year basis. So, strictly speaking, elections are really due in 2023. But what do you have? You have a situation where, having created a lot of chaos and a lot of uncertainty, they have decided that they need to rush you into making decisions for which, in many respects, you are not even considering at this point, right? And how have they done it? They have done it right in the middle of pandemic, where there's a whole lot of uncertainty, where there's a whole lot of problems, where the management systems for even the same election seem to be in chaos. Because the Electoral and Boundaries Commission are saying that they don't have the manpower to do this and they don't have the manpower to do that. So, again, you have to ask the question, are we in a situation where somebody is trying to do something that we are not accustomed to in an effort to ensure that they secure themselves? I want to say to you tonight, and wherever I speak, I will say, the affairs of this country are too serious for people not to, for people not to give an account of their stewardship. We have not had any account of the financial stewardship from the government for the last 3 years. No budget. They're spending money. They've spent a lot of money, but we don't know how it was spent, who was paid, who was not paid, how much any individual or group of individuals or any entity was paid, but they're spending money. And they borrow a whole lot of it. And we cannot see anything concrete from the money which has been spent. So, I mean, if you're running a company, right, even if it is a sole proprietorship, right, you have a system where you have accounts that you can look at, right, and see whether your business is going up or down, whether you're in a position where you're profitable or not. We don't know where Barbados is, and yet they are spending money and borrowing all the time, and then want to tell us that if we implement the policies which we have outlined in our manifesto, that we can put the country in a hole. They have already dug the hole, and you know what? Whoever comes after them will have the responsibility to try to dig us out of that hole. So again, you got to ask yourself if this election is one about they're not accepting the responsibility for their own actions, whether they want for you to say to somebody else, come and dig us out of this hole. But I will tell you, if that is what it is, let them know that the Democratic Labour Party is ready, willing, and able to take up the challenge. And with people like Dr. Ronnie Yearwood on board, there is no question that we will do the right things by all Barbadians. That is the pledge of the Democratic Labour Party. We have promised you that we will get it done, and that is our intention once on the 19th of this month, a couple of days from now, you go to the poll and elect the team of candidates, including Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, whom the Democratic Labour Party have put before you. We trust you. We invite you to trust us and believe it. We are going to deliver for you. I thank you very much.
Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on election day, because Ronnie is the man that will get it done, get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood to represent St. James South. Ronnie Yearwood make things better for everyone. Empowering the people is the only way. Your vote is important, you deserve the best representation. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood, cause it's time to make a change. January 19th, the day to get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on election day.
You just heard from Sylvester Ford, and before I bring the next speaker, I wish to tell you that in 2018, you voted for a representative. And that representative came to us and said that she will represent us. But I live here in West Ham, she live in 2nd Avenue, and she came in 2018. I saw a partial sometime after Elsa, and then since election I've been called. I listened to debates in the House of Assembly. I have not heard anything at all in terms of representation for St. James South. The post office that the old people use, I saw the old people, the aged people used to walk and do their business, that is closed. We were told it was closed for repairs. I think it's closed now over 2 years. So I'm saying representation by the former candidate for the BLP is a failure here in St. James South. And you have an opportunity to correct that when you go to the polls on Wednesday, and to tell you why you should vote for Dr. Ronnie Hayward. Is a man that I first met as a credit union president for the Police Co-op Credit Union. He was the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party. He is a lawyer by profession, and I speak of Gyson Mears. Come, Gyson.
Ronnie Yearwood is a man for the people who has championed numerous initiatives for St. James South, including a free Wi-Fi program for the Haynesville community. Ronnie thinks outside the box and promotes social justice and economic empowerment for all Barbadians. If you want good representation for St. James South, vote for Ronnie Yearwood on January 19th because Ronnie Yearwood will get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on Election Day.
Good night, West Terrace. It is a privilege, I think, to be able to address you tonight and to try to inform you why I believe that your interests would be better served by Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. And that may not be too difficult to do, simply because you have had the opportunity to see the incumbent representative in office for 3.5 years. And I do not think there's anything positive that we can point to that anybody can raise in her defense. It is unfortunate, though, that I have to be addressing you tonight in the midst of a pandemic. That, for me, is troubling. We have medical experts who tell us that we should stay at home. And that has been reflected across Barbados during this campaign. People have been listening from home on social media because that is safest. And that is following good medical advice. We have medical experts who have advised the authorities to let people work from home as much as possible. Why? Because the workplace can be dangerous because of this pandemic. And in the interest of keeping workers safe, they advise the authorities to let people work from home as much as possible. Unfortunately, there are some among us who don't have that luxury. Spare a thought tonight for the members of the police service who have to police all these meetings, who have to expose themselves to COVID in a pandemic for an election that we did not need to have 18 months ahead of the constitutional date for this election. In the midst of a pandemic that is spreading around the world, where people believe that it is catching easy, we have variants coming to the fore ever so often. And apparently, the latest variant, Omicron or something like that, is very contagious. We are seeing a spike in those cases in Barbados. We are importing tourists from jurisdictions that have runaway cases of this virus. But in the midst of that, when we did not have to have an election for more than 1.5 years, we are here tonight having to persuade you to help us to rescue you and rescue this country on your behalf. To me, that is an act of carelessness, unless there's some good reason for it. We are told that the hands of the PM were forced when a group of 17 of her members decided that they could no longer take her as their leader. And being a person who believes that she has a divine right to rule and it must be her or nobody, she decided, if it's not me, we're going back to the polls. And here we are. But I do not have any evidence of that. I'm telling you what is commonly said on the ground. What I can tell you is that the Prime Minister has announced that she has some serious decisions to make. So serious that she needed to have this election before she could implement those steps. One wonders what those steps could be. But, as is the case of late, we do not have too much transparency in Barbados. So we are in the dark guessing what could those draconian measures be. One thing that we might bear in mind is that we have an IMF program that comes to an end, I think, in October this year. That 4-year program that has thrust us into the belly of debt comes to an end, and it is believed that there is a necessity, given the state of affairs, that we are going to have to enter into another program. We know that the IMF has been making noise about our pension schemes, so that if you have worked in the public service for 33 and 30 years or more, some of us have worked for a lot more than that, 40 years and things like that, and you are looking forward now that you're becoming more mature to a gratuity and a pension, you now have to be afraid, because you are no longer guaranteed a pension if the IMF program is followed. But I have even worse news for you. Because even if you have your pension and your gratuity in paper, the government has just passed a law supported by the representative of this constituency to pay you whatever they owe you in bonds. Bonds that will mature in 4 years or something down the road. Bonds that will not bear interest. J bonds, junk bonds. But you can no longer say, I'm looking forward to my gratuity. And we have a precedent that is dangerous. Shortly after coming to office, one of the early acts, one of the early terrible acts of this administration was to give a haircut, in some cases a decapitation, to persons who had invested in government paper, persons who had bought government bonds with their gratuity. A lot of persons who retire put a sizable amount of their gratuity into bonds, because when you are living on a pension, you are living on a fraction of the salary you lived on before, and your lifestyle has to change. So what those people do is to invest in government paper, and the interest that accrues from that helps to supplement their life as they go. But bring it down, the woman cut the people's bond interest and push it back 15 years before they can get it. So now you have value on paper that you cannot reach. Bear in mind, I said a lot of these people are retirees. When you have retired at 65 or 67, you have to wait 15 more years for your money. How many of those people will live long enough to see that money? And I'm saying that is a serious act of almost sabotage of those mature citizens who have worked so hard to build this country. And in the midst of a pandemic, we have to have an election because there are more harsh decisions to be taken. There are more hard decisions to be taken, and nobody will tell us what those decisions are. But we know they cannot be kind. And we know that given the propensity to do as you like, in this administration, hold your belly. because trouble is coming down the pipe. We have this situation where you go to the supermarket every day, prices gone up, your bills going up, and somebody is going to say, I'm going to pay you in bonds that will mature years down the road. If you have $100 tonight, by next month, that $100 cannot purchase what it could purchase tonight. If somebody pays you your pension, your gratuity, or your income tax return, or whatever government owes you, in bonds that will not bear interest, but will mature some years down the road, what are they doing to you? They are cheating you out of the value of your money. And that is highly unacceptable. It's a dangerous step. It's a step that would fly in the face of every reasonable Barbadian, especially those who should stand in the interests of ordinary people. But the representative of this constituency voted for that. And then she will come back to you and ask you to vote for her again, to continue to support an administration that is despotic in everything it does, to continue to support an administration that frightens everybody who gets close to the leader. And you can run this long because those mice have no balls. We hear a woman who said that she was this woman's friend for years. She was protective of her for years. Her close friend, a bosom buddy. And that woman is now saying, I am afraid of her. I am afraid of her. But we did not need Lucy Moore to come out and say that. We were warned. A man who lived not far from where I'm speaking to you tonight, who was the Prime Minister of Barbados, whether you are B or D, he made a significant contribution to this country, and people respected his effort, and his words have always meant something. He warned us. Oenatha stood on the steps of Parliament and warned us that this woman was a despot. And he said, she tried to be a despot in relation to him. If somebody could try to be despotic towards Oenatha, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Who is anybody else in Barbados that she will relate to any differently from that? We have some men in Parliament who get up and talk boldly when she's out the island, and then sink back in their seats and keep quiet when she comes back. What kind of fear has this woman instilled in these people? We had a soldier who come and said, no retreat, no surrender, and he ran hard as hell. All the talk about no retreat and no surrender, he ran and left a seat where he possibly could have won again. No retreat, no surrender, but he retreated and surrendered and ran. We have John King, who did not even serve 4 years in Parliament, and he ran. What could make a man at the beginning of his political career, the man at the very outset of his political career, get up and run after 3 years? Does that sound like normal business to you? These mice have no balls. George Payne ran, Toppin ran, what kind of terrorist activity is going on within the Barbados Labour Party, that everybody who has any conscience must run and leave it. So Lucille Moore did not tell us anything that we should not have known. Owen Arthur warned us. You know, when I was a boy, there were men and women who would walk through the district at 5 o'clock in the morning prophesying about things in the community. And one thing you could note is that when those people said somebody was going to die on this road, somebody's going to die from that house, in a week or two, somebody was dead. We moved away from that apparently, so we don't see a lot of that anymore. But all of a sudden, prophets from Africa, from England, from Canada, from all across the Caribbean, telling us that God talking to them and He's showing them things about Barbados. Dangerous things on the horizon. So Owen Arthur warned us. Lucille Moore warned us. God is warning us. And we are still going to go down that road where God help us if we make that decision. We are free to make any decision we choose to. But we have to accept the consequences once we've made those decisions. Tonight you have an opportunity to make up your mind that on Wednesday you're going to go to the polls and change the dynamics of this country, change the trajectory, the downward trajectory in which this country is headed. Change your representation from somebody who toes the line and does nothing to represent your interests to a man who has demonstrated in the short time he has been in the field that he is more than equipped to represent your interests properly and to make a meaningful contribution to the development of this country. You cannot say that about your current representative. And I can say that without fear of contradiction because we have watched her in office for the last 3.5 years. And there's nothing outstanding to point to. The woman has done only what her dictator has said to her, this is what we will do. She has voted for every piece of radical legislation that does nothing for us, that hurts your interests, that hurts your children's interests, that digs the hole that we are in now, a position where we are in more debt than you will ever live long enough to see repaid. More debt than your children can repay. More debt than your grandchildren can repay. But your representative has not raised her voice against any of that. Ronnie Yearwood is offering an alternative. This is not just about B or D. Every election, the Barbados Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party fight for seats. This year, we're not fighting for seats. We are fighting for the soul of this country. We are fighting to save Barbados from the darkness that hovers over it. It seems that some people think that by burying our flag in Africa, the minds of Barbadians were buried at the same time. I think not. We have to lift our heads, dust ourselves off, and say, no more. No more. A vote for Ronnie Yearwood is not just a vote for the man Ronnie Yearwood, as talented as he is. It is a rescue vote for Barbados. It is a rescue vote for your family, for you and your children and your children's children. The vote is in your hand. The power is in your hand. Go to the polls on Wednesday and vote for Ronnie Yearwood. And if you are hearing my voice anywhere else, wherever a Democratic Labour Party candidate is presented, you have to do the same thing because we have to save Barbados. We can no longer continue with a one-party dictatorship. We have seen what happens with a one-party dictatorship. We're not in North Korea. We're in Barbados. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood. Vote for the Democratic Labour Party candidate wherever you're hearing my voice. Thank you and good night.
Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on election day. Because Ronnie is the man that will get it done, get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood to represent St. James South. Ronnie Yearwood make things better for everyone. Empowering the people is the only way. Your vote is important, you deserve the best representation. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood, cause it's time to make a change. January 19th, the day to get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on election day.
Thank you, Grayson. I told you earlier that I'm a resident of West Terrace Gardens, and that is since 1986, December 20th. And I also told you that we didn't have any representation here in West Terrace Gardens over the last 3.5 years. And we are bringing a candidate to you. And this candidate is telling you that he is not about himself, but he is about you. And that is what we should wish for. So, without any further ado, I am going to ask Dr. Ronnie Yearwood to come and address you.
Ronnie Yearwood is a man for the people who has championed numerous initiatives for St. James South, including a free Wi-Fi program for the Haynesville community. Ronnie thinks outside the box and promotes social justice and economic empowerment for all Barbadians. If you want good representation for St. James South, vote for Ronnie Yearwood on January 19th because Ronnie Yearwood will get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on election day.
Good night, St. James South. Good night, Barbados. Good night to those watching online. Good night to the good folks of West Terrace. Good night to anyone who can hear me. I've been doing this for the last, I think it's a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I'm losing track of time. And my messages have been varied. I've talked about who I am. I've talked about my values. I've talked about the importance of values in politics. I've talked about new politics. We have talked about policy, whether it's education reform, economic reform. We've talked about all the forms of things that we need to do in this country. We've got into some details. We talked in generalities. We've been philosophical. We've been spiritual. There have been a number of themes. Tonight, I want to talk to you really about the state and the future of the country. I'm not going to spend time criticizing and talking down or about my opponent because I do not think that her track record is worthy of review because there's still there to review. So really what I'm going to talk about is the state of the country that I want to build, the future that I want to build, and what I intend to do and how I intend to do it. Because often in politics, there's not enough vision. There's a lot of talk, but there's no direction, there's no sense of where we're going. And that is the problem with Barbados at the moment. So I want you to understand why you should elect me, why you should vote for me, why it's important that I become a member of parliament and not someone else. Because essentially that is the decision that you will make. And if we're honest about that, that is where we are. And we have to also be honest about the state of our country. The reality is, if we do not do something, we do not arrest our current situation or decline, Barbados could become a failed society by 2050 as much as the Caribbean. In 2 decades, the National Insurance Scheme is met to run out of money, and therefore, perhaps for the first time in our lifetime in a generation, my generation and the next will not have as good lives as the ones before them. And that is scary. Those are the brutal, honest truths that we face. $1 billion in debts, rising cost of living. These are the things that stand before us. I am here to be honest and direct with you. I have made that a part of my campaign, a part of my platforms. I'm not here to tell you everything's going to be better tomorrow because it probably won't be. It won't be better the day after, and it won't be better the day after that. It will take hard work, it will take commitment, and it will take decisive action on the part of our government. Gone must be the days of empty promises and rhetoric, and we must direct our attention to how we will face the challenges ahead and how we will build the new Barbados. Now, it can be done. This party, in the 1960s at independence, committed itself to building the political independence project, and now we must commit to building the economic independence project. We must empower our people, and we must do it now because they must have a seat at the table. Gone must be the days when it is who you know and not what you know. We must provide opportunities for young people, and as I've walked around this community, I've come to realize, and I hope most politicians and I hope my colleagues realize, people do not want handouts, they want hand-ups. They just want to be given a chance to make something of themselves for them and their families. And that is the new Barbados we must build. It is not about politicians giving you things. It is not about people coming to the politician to worship at their altar. It is not about blind loyalty. I do not ask you to vote for me because I expect you to be loyal to me for the rest of your life and somehow make your family and your children loyal to Ronnie Yearwood for anything. That is wrong, 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 and it should not be. You will vote for me because you think I am the best candidate. You see something in me. You understand that when I speak to you from my head and my heart, and I have your intentions and the best of them at heart. I am not here for a popularity contest. I'm not here for fame and fortune. I am here because I believe that I've been called to service, and this is my purpose, and I want to do this job. And I offer myself as a candidate to you here in St. James South, to you here in West Terrace. Now, what does the new economy, what does the new Barbados look like? I'm just going to talk about a few things here. I'm going to talk about service zones, I'm going to talk about pensions, and I'm going to talk about universal basic income and education. So perhaps let's start in reverse order. Education is key to building out our country, and we must be able to provide our young people with first, second, and third chances. Often we discard our young people. They're spit up and chewed up by the system, a system of the 11 plus, and we must reform that. And that reform must mean abolishing the colonial system and embracing a Scandinavian type education where students and parents are placed at the heart of it. These things are not impossible, but we must have political will to do them. One of the things that my party proposes is that we will have grants for young people between the ages of 16 and 30 who enroll on an educational program of 6 months or more. And this is to ensure that you're given that first, that second, that third chance so that you can empower yourselves and that you can make a better life for you and your families. Because the reality is that some people must retrain for the new jobs, for the jobs of the future. And the other reality we also face is that the Barbados economy does not match the educational training that we wish that we pump out. And we must align the two. The economy and the educational systems must start to align so that the jobs that we create in the new economy, people are trained to do them. These things are basic. I do not understand sometimes why we've not done them. And I can only think that it's a lack of political will, it's a lack of creativity, it's a lack of leadership, and a downright irresponsible set of leadership that we've had over the years in this country. We need to draw a line under that and practice new politics. I'm being real with you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not here. I told you I'm going to be real. I said this at the beginning of my campaign, and I intend to keep my promise because that is who I am. That is the kind of politics I want to practice. Now, in terms of your pensions, there are lots of people in West Terrace. You know that your pensions are heavily taxed, and it's not right. You've worked all of your life to save your pensions. You've worked to save your money. You've worked so that you can have an inheritance for your grandchildren and your children, and then you're taxed in your retirement, and you should not be taxed at such levels, and this party is committing to cutting in half the current rates of taxation on pensions so that you can have more money in your pocket for your families, for your children, for your grandchildren, so that you can help them out to live the lives that they want to live. Now, in terms of the other proposals from this policy party, we've talked about universal basic income. The idea is simple. Put money in the hands of persons so that they can be empowered to make better choices. We must reform our archaic and Victorian style of welfare system that creates a politics of mendicantism where we are tied to politicians begging for handouts. I don't want anybody to ever beg me for anything. It's wrong. People should be empowered to make their life choices and decisions that are best for them. And this is what new politics is about. We can do these things. And I know some of you are thinking, no, this sounds like some kind of utopian New Jerusalem. This is not real. We can't do this. You know, we're so stuck. You know, politicians and that relationship between politicians and people, we've built it and we've practiced it for so long. How is that going to change, Ronnie? It's going to change because you're going to vote for change. That's how it's going to change. It's going to change when you put people like myself in Parliament, when you put some of these new bloods in Parliament, because we don't come with the baggage, we come with something new. We come to build the new, and that's what we're here to offer yourself. I'm so proud of all the young people who have stood up, who have offered themselves to this job of service, who are taking the arrows and the slings for you. This job is not easy. It's hard on your family, it's hard on yourself, but we are here because we care about Barbados. We care about the country, we care about our families in this country, and we want it to do better. That is the only reason that we're here. And I'm so proud of all of us. And I think that you should also be proud of us. You should recognize the value in the young people that have stood up. And you should see them and you should applaud them. Whether they're on your side or they're not on your side, that is not the matter. The fact is that they've come forward. And it takes a certain bravery, it takes a certain energy, it takes a certain commitment to country to do that, to put yourself out there. Last night, I said in Husbands, I talked about the fact that I know some of you are afraid. I know you feel that you've been victimized. And I said, I have been victimized. But we cannot let fear stop us from standing up for what we believe in is right in this country. We have to stand up for what is right. We have to stand up for what we believe in. And I've said before, I will be your light bearer. I will be your shield and your sword, because that is what your representative is for. And when you're weak, I will try to carry you as best as I can. I will be there. When your lamp runs out of oil, you can borrow some from mine. I think that we can do this. If I didn't believe that we could do it, I wouldn't be here. I know that everything doesn't seem right now, but we can dream of better days. We can walk in this sunshine again. I've talked about it on this platform over and over and over again about letting optimism win, letting hope win, letting that new politics win. But we must be honest with ourselves when governments aren't performing, and this government has not performed in some areas. Most projects have been stalled and started. Most investments have not started. Laws repealed, not drafted properly. We know they've messed up. And I think there has to be an admission that it's not working. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to say, you know what, they're not getting it right. And whether you support the government or not, every objective measure shows that they're not performing the way that they should be performing for the expectations of the people of Barbados. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in that moment, you decide, here are these new candidates. Here are these new people with fresh ideas. Here are these new voices. Let us give them a chance. Let's give hope a chance. Let us give them a chance to show that they can rise to this challenge. My generation needs to get off of Twitter and the internet and Facebook and step into the light and step out and step up and take their place at the table, because the days must go where we sit waiting for crumbs and handouts from some politician or MP who we feel that we've owed a vote for life because your grandmother voted for them and your grandfather and your father before. That must stop. You must look at your candidate objectively and say, you know what, that Ronnie Yearwood is better. It is that simple. It doesn't matter if he belongs to my party or not. He is the better man that should be in Parliament. He's the man that will sit there and fight for my values. He's the man that can lean on his international network to bring resources and investment to my constituency. He's the man that can line up donors to build projects in this community for you and your families. He's the man that can line up international folks to get the internships that your kids need. He's the guy who will fight for your pensions. And that is how we choose our representatives. That is what this new politics is about. Obviously, I want you to vote for me, so I'm going to say vote for me. That's what this is about as well. I have to be here because it's politics. I'm asking for your vote. That is part of the reality. But I do so with a brutal honesty of where we are and where I think we can go, and some of the policies that I think this party has that can take us there. Now, we've talked about education, we've talked about the new economy, we've talked about universal basic income, we've talked about pensions, and what I also want to talk about is the state of our democracy. And it's worrying me, and it's worried me over the last week and the last few weeks, that few of us are willing to speak out or say anything about the fact that thousands of our comrades, our brothers and sisters will be disenfranchised in this election. And I do not understand how we are silent and we sit on the sidelines and we watch it happen. We're not calling in the programs. We're not writing our letters to the paper. It is wrong. The reality is This government needs to own this failure and fix it fast. We've got a few days left before the polls are open and then will be closed, and we cannot disenfranchise people in this way. Persons have a right to vote, and they deserve that right to vote, and it should always be protected, and we should find mechanisms to ensure that persons with COVID can vote. It's been done in other countries. It's not magic. It's not rocket science. It can be done. And I don't know where our righteous anger is, because these things are wrong. It is plain wrong. It doesn't matter whether you like the current government or whether you don't like them. You must recognize right from wrong, and some things are just wrong. How could 6,000 or more people who will be disenfranchised for the first time in our history? This is madness. And I do not understand where our legal fraternity, where the others, where the speakers, few of us are saying anything. There's a certain silence. I do not know if it's fear that grips us, but I can tell you I am not afraid, and you don't have to be afraid. I am afraid of no man or no woman in no place in this country, and I will stand up for what I believe in. I've always done it, and I will do it now, and I will do it forever, and I will do it until I am called home. And that is who I am, and I want you to join me. And when I ask people to join me, and I've been saying it on this platform for the last few nights, I'm not asking you necessarily to join a political party. That's not what it's about. I'm asking you to join a movement for change. I'm asking you to give change a chance. I'm asking you to join us because we can build better. This is your opportunity to make Barbados better. This elections is very, very important, and I want you to recognize that we're at a crossroads. COVID has showed up a lot of that. COVID didn't cause a lot of the problems that we face, but it definitely showed them up. And we've got problems with our educational system, kids who've not been to school for almost 3 years, and it's almost like we just sit by quietly as if this is something that's just normal. It's not normal. We're creating a lost generation, and the next government will have to grapple, my government will have to grapple with this and how we correct this, the remedial programs that we must have ready to roll out, because you can't start back school and think everybody's going to catch up on the same thing. It's nothing has happened. We have to have serious remedial education to bring all of these children back to scratch. Kids who've literally not been to school because they don't have Wi-Fi, they don't have tablets, they don't have resources, they don't have the supervision because parents may be at home working, there's a grandparent home who don't necessarily know how to operate the computer. These are real issues, yet you get people on the platform talking silliness and dealing in personalities and talking about Ronnie Yearwood and how they hadn't offer him. Madness. Where are the issues? Where are the policy statements? Where is the discussion on where Barbados' economic growth will come from? I have put my ideas on the line. I've talked about service zones. I've written about them. I've talked about how we need to get that influx of foreign investment. Where's the discussion? We talk about immigration, but where are the people going to come from? They don't magically appear in Barbados. What's our immigration policy? How do we have managed and proper immigration in Barbados, given our size, given our population size, given our resources already under strain under the current population? The hospital can't even handle the number of persons in it. Our clinics are broken down, but you're going to talk about immigration. Of course, we need to expand our tax base, but where's the plan to talk about it sensibly? Where's the discussion that I am trying to have? I don't see that in the leadership on the other side, and it's sad. And I'm disappointed. And it's this, you must also be disappointed. And with that disappointment, we have to correct it. We have to course correct. We've heard the folly about how we should have 30-0 again. Madness. In what right mind thinking person would you think that having all the seats in Parliament is right? There's no rightness about that. It is wrong, it is wrong, it is wrong. We have to have a proper functioning system of government in this country to ensure that there's critique and that the things that governments put on the table are criticized, and not only criticized, but their alternative solutions are offered. We on this side, and I surely have done so, I've discussed with you, I've put my solutions on the table. You may not like all of them, you may think some of them will not work, but they're there. We can have that discussion, we can have that policy discussion. And when I said I wanted to make this campaign about policy, I meant it. You see, I've said it, and I live out my dreams. I do what I say, and I mean what I say. I've come on this platform, I said I'm not going to make this about personality, and I've never done so. But I've also made the point that if I'm attacked, I will defend myself. And that is who I am. Now, in terms of the programs and policies for St. James South and this area, my mini manifesto will be released shortly, but I can tell you, and I've discussed some of the things in it openly already, because it's not about hiding. Ideas are infinite, and I sometimes wonder why we treat ideas in secrecy. I've talked about the fact that this area needs buses, a scheduled bus service for the elderly, because we have to treat the elderly with dignity. I've talked about the fact that we have to look at reduction of taxes on pensions, because the elderly deserve more money in their pockets so they can help their kids and their families. I've talked about the fact that we need a multi-purpose community center in this area because it never had one, it doesn't have one. We have to have a community center that goes beyond 2 toilets and a pavilion and a playing field. Yes, those things are important, but we have to expand our minds. Community centers with dance rooms and art rooms and places for the elderly and places for mothers and their kids and rooms to study in and play in. All of these things we can do. I've talked about the fact that in this area we have to nurture internships for our young people so that they have opportunities, and it's not about who they know, but it's about what they know, because we want to create a society where people are equal and they have chances. They have the opportunity to do well about themselves. In this area, I'm going to champion green spaces. And when I talk about green spaces, I'm not talking about a park with some grass and 2 benches and a couple of flowers on the side. We're talking about creating architecturally beautiful and aesthetically pleasing spaces to connect all through St. James South. So you can literally walk from one park to another park, to another park, and traverse this entire community. Because we have to create new spaces in this community. You have to recognize that this community is an aging community, and therefore the community and the dynamics of it need to respond to its residents. We often make this mistake in Barbados. We create things, the conditions around them change, but we do nothing to respond. This West Terrace community, this St. James South community cannot respond and be the same community it was when a lot of you first moved in. You were young families, you were young, your kids were young. That's not the situation anymore. You're entering into your retirement golden stages. Your kids may have left home, or they've returned home, as some of the situations may be. So the community needs to respond and change. I want us to build anew, and that's what I'm talking about. And these are the things that I've come to realize because I'm engaging with you. These aren't just random ideas that I've plucked from my own mind just so they sound good in the manifesto. I know these things because I've talked to you, and you've expressed your concerns, and then I'm able to take those concerns, match them up to the values that I have. My values are that society that does not respect its elderly is not a society that does not take care of its young is not a society. So when I take those values, I take your concerns were, hey, we don't have a bus system, we can't get out of here, some of us don't drive, okay, what do we need? Now, out comes the other end, a policy discussion of something practical. So then you see that policy and values and action have to line up. And that's what new politics is about. That's how you get change in a society. So it's not talking big and, big ideas and big visions. Fine, but then how does that match up with the reality on the ground of what's needed in the community? And then how do you get the output on the other side? And that's what I'm about. I hope that I'm able to demonstrate that through what I've said to you. And I hope that I'm able to demonstrate that through the projects that we've done in this community. Whether it's the free Wi-Fi program in terms of partnering with donors to bring that to certain areas where kids didn't have Wi-Fi, or learn to swim programs, or you're going to do educational screening programs. These are the things that I've worked on in this community. And they only make sense because I'm engaging with the community. I'm not here to come with lofty ideas and impose policies and open buildings to have my name on them. That kind of politics needs to stop. In fact, I would never want my name on anything. Or if it's on it, it has to be so small no one can see it. You have to squint to recognize that I had anything to do with it. Because it's not about me, it's about you. And that's what this new politics has to be about. We have to recognize and talk to the people about the things they want. There's no point me coming here and saying, I want to build a community center. I build it somewhere random. Nobody can use it. It's not designed to meet the needs of the residents, but I'm happy that it's there and I can put in my achievements. Community center built, tick. And I go home feeling well and feel good about myself. But really, how has that helped the community? The reason I talk to you about the multi-purpose community center is because in engaging with young people, when I had my youth Lime, that's what they were telling me. We need this because we need dance rooms, because at the moment we're trying to train to dance and we're dancing on concrete. That's not right. Where's the special purpose floor? This area of West Terrace and St. James South has always produced lots of artists and sports persons. Where's the proper multi-purpose community center and sports center to help nurture and continue to nurture the talent in this community? And then we wonder why are young people engaging. These are real things, but you only find this out when you try to spend time with people, when you try to consult with them. The time in this campaign has been short, but I've been trying to reach you, all of you, Zoom, video calls, text messages, direct calls. Some of you would know this. You've had video calls with me, texting, whatever. However, I'm trying to reach you. Our time is short. There are a lot of persons in this community, but we're trying hard. And if you want to reach us, just let us know, and we'll reach out to you, because that's the only way that we can craft decent and good policy that represents you. It's not about random ideas. It's not about just talking about things, but it's about trying to engage with the community and build that new community. That can only happen through real consultation and real engagement, so we understand where you're at and what your needs are and how a government can serve you. And in that, we come to the fact that what's the purpose of government? Often people question what does government do? And sometimes I look upon and I'm not sure that government understands what is its purpose. And I think the government doesn't understand what its purpose is, and the leadership of government doesn't understand what its purpose is because there's an issue with the values. So you have to think, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to change lives for the better? Is this a call to service? What and who am I? And that's a very important question that attaches itself to what is the purpose of government. And if you don't understand who you are, you're unable to fulfill that purpose. I will tell you what I believe the purpose of government is. It is to protect you, it is to care for you, it's to empower you, and it's to provide opportunities so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. Not government telling you what to do, not government making the decisions for you, because you're all intelligent enough, you're all smart enough, you're all clever enough to make those decisions, but sometimes you just need that handout. Not a handout, you just need the environment created. And that's what I keep hearing from people. We don't want anything, Ronnie. We don't want anything. We just want to know that when we apply for the job, we have a fair chance. We just want to know that when we apply for the license, we get a fair break. We just want to know that when we set up the shop, that we get a fair break from everyone else. And that is all people want in this country. I've come to realize that that is all it is. People just want to live their lives in dignity. They want to live their lives in dignity. They want their families to live their lives in dignity. They want to simply be able to feed their children and go to sleep at night, knowing that their government cares, knowing that they're protected, knowing that they can wake up in the morning and see the sun again, that things are okay. And I've come to realize that the expectations of Bajans are not lofty, they're not big, they just want to fulfill that Barbadian dream of having a home, a decent salary, a decent living, being able to enjoy themselves at some point in their lives and be able to see their children grow up in a stable and happy environment with a good education. And those are all the things that this party has always represented. And I will hope this party is able to represent you again. I know sometimes that we've not always got it right. And I will hold my hands up. I've said it many times on this platform. But at the same time, we're asking you now to trust us. I'm asking you to trust me. Believe in me, listen to my heart, listen to my head, and know that I tell you these things because I care. Know that I am here to represent you because I believe in public service. I believe that we can be given a chance to change this country. Now, we should be given a chance to change this country because this country requires deep change. And that is not going to happen by accident. It must happen by design. We cannot wait for it. We cannot kick the can down the road on the important decisions any longer because we have to face up to them. We have to face up to them in a real way and believe that we can do better. And I ask you to give us that chance. I know a lot of you are tired. I keep hearing it on the trail. Today, I heard it more and more. You're tired, you're annoyed, you hate politics, you hate politicians, you hate what they stand for, you hate the fact that things never seem to change. It doesn't matter which government is elected or which member of parliament is elected, that it's all the same. The street lights have not been fixed for 30 years. The road is the same for 40 years. The lot was always that way. You remember it as a child, and you've been asking, you've written for 20 years to MTW for speed humps in these areas, and you still haven't gotten the speed humps. You've asked for a sign on the corner. You've asked for the mirror. You've asked for the stop sign. You've asked for... And it goes on and on and on and on. And you're drained. And you're just apathetic. And you're hurting. And you're disgusted by all of it. And many of you have thrown your hands up. And I ask you, I know it's hard. I know it's really hard. And I ask you, to, however, to give yourself a chance to walk in the sun again. Give this party a chance to help you walk in the sun again. I've laid out some of the policies and the things that we will do. But we can only do them if you vote. Your vote is important. You can vote for the future. And I want you to give me a chance on January the 19th to help build that brighter future. Give us a chance so that you can walk in the sun again. And I ask you to go out on 19th of January and vote for me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Ronnie Yearwood is a man for the people who has championed numerous initiatives for St. James South, including a free Wi-Fi program for the Haynesville community. Ronnie thinks outside the box and promotes social justice and economic empowerment for all Barbadians. If you want good representation for St. James South, vote for Ronnie Yearwood on January 19th because Ronnie Yearwood will get it done. Vote for Ronnie Yearwood on Election Day.
You've heard from Sylvester, Geisen, and Ronnie. And I'm asking you once again on Wednesday the 19th to go to the polls and vote for Ronnie so that he can be on Team DLP. I want to thank those of you who came out to listen, those in your homes. Stay safe, protect yourself. God bless, and good night. The next meeting is going to be in Coverley in about 15 minutes time. Endurance in about 15 minutes time. Endurance, 15 minutes time.